July 14th, the first title defense for current CFFC Featherweight Champion Jose Perez, who's my guest today. How's it going, Jose?
I'm doing good, man. Getting ready. We're winding down. We're getting pretty close to the date.
Almost a year since you won the title. We won't get into that quite yet, but currently seven fights, 7 wins, 1 loss, 4 wins by submission. Still seeking that knockout. Current accolades too. 2020 submission of the year with the banana split over Jacob Dorman. 2022 fight of the year that I would not stop talking about until you won the award. Fuck Fight Pass. Paul Capato. And you're returning now to Tunica, Mississippi, where you made your CFFC debut.
Yeah, I actually have a I don't gamble. Like it's just not my thing. I don't like actively avoid it. It just doesn't really entertain me. But my teammate Bo went out with me to the fight when we went against Brandon Gator. It was my very first pro fight, and it was the same thing at this same hotel. And I still have a chip in my little like a go bag. It's like a bathroom bag where I throw my toothbrush and all that stuff. I've got a chip in there, like a $10 chip, and it's just supposed to be good luck. And well, if I want to cash it in when I come back this time, then that's something I can do.
And, in your first defense, you were facing Chris Vasil. I think it's Vasil, might be Vasil.
I just say Vassal, but I could probably be saying that wrong.
I'm sure I'll get told otherwise if I say it wrong, like someone else
in
says.
The comments, I was like, it's just ceiling.
So 6-3, never been submitted, and he's been knocked out twice and then lost by decision. One of those knockouts, of course, is the highlight reel from Paul Capato, which I thought was a little weird to be like, this is the next fight, then they used the knockout to promote Paul's last fight as well. But again, never been submitted. So this is like another one that could be like another accolade on your end. How do you see this fight going so far?
So I mean, yeah, as far as the not being submitted, just I know the knockout was like the focal point of his fight, where when he went against Frank Wells. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. It was the only knee that he threw. It was the only knee that he needed to throw. It was just kind of one of those things where I don't want to say it was luck, but it's not something that I think could happen again. It's not like something that I would see as being repeatable. With that being said, what I was honestly actually impressed with was his takedowns. Obviously, that's fine. A lot of people have wrestling, but his pressure on top and the way that he was like pressure passing to the side. He was going to like a particular side, and he passed really strong, and I could tell that like Frank Wells knew what he was doing, but just couldn't stop it. And I think that that's like that's a precursor to like a really good move, That's something he's got down, and I was impressed with that. He took the guys, took Frank Wells back pretty quickly. It was just a glimmer. He wasn't able to control position. He did end up getting rolled and got on bottom, but I liked what I saw as far as that goes. Like if I was in his corner, I would just say that that's something he should use more is his ground game, because it looked like it was pretty solid. But as far as him never being submitted before, I've made it a habit of beating guys that have never been beat before. Jalen Alston was, the first undefeated fighter I went against, and I didn't realize it, but 1 minute on the ground and I had his back and had a submission locked up, and that guy's supposed to be a black belt. I think MMA Jiu-Jitsu is just a little bit different, but no, I don't really consider that too much of a notch. If I can submit Vassal, I really feel that that's just something that I should be able to do, something that I should expect to happen.
Yeah, I mean, even last time when you won the belt, it was a submission that you weren't even really seeking until it came to you. I mean, I can even go farther and say you sent me the game plan about 2 months prior to that fight, and you stuck to it 2 months later. And the whole plan was to really not force the takedown, not necessarily do a kickboxing match against a Muay Thai specialist, but kind of just let the fight flow itself. And as soon as he gave that little overextended kick, he just gave you the back basically, and you pissed off a lot of Philly.
Yeah, that was a great night.
And, since then it was one of those like, what's next? I know there were some things in the background that came up. We won't touch on that just to not piss anyone off. But, you do have your first title defense. I said a lot of first at Tunica. It's a great location. You did have another team member on the card. I think we'll probably say not on the card anymore. Who's all
No,
coming
I
down
don't think
with you? Is
so.
Steve still coming with you? I know obviously Dan is coming, but who else?
Yeah, Steve. Steve said that he already took the days off work and basically set up everything for travel. So he's just gonna see it through. And he said, "Fuck it, just go watch me fight." But yeah, it'll be Dan. Uh, the two Dans, Dan Gilbert, the owner of the gym, and then Danny B. That's my training partner, coach. He's been helping me with like pads and stuff like that, and really just kind of like investing into my training and stuff like that. So he's been helping me a lot, so he's the obvious choice on who should come with. Those will be my corners. I think Bo's got a wedding or something like that he's going to go to, so he shouldn't be there. But Steve, his crew, I'll have a couple of my friends, a couple of my family members, and then yeah, other than that, just the corner. I don't like to turn these things into like parties or like vacations. So I always feel bad when I have a lot of people come out because realistically, I'm gonna be dehydrated like a raisin for the first chunk of the trip, and I'm not gonna really want to be doing anything. I can't go out to eat or hang out with you guys. Then it's weigh-ins, and then I could have a meal with them after weigh-ins, and then I can have a drink with them after the fight. But realistically, I like to not stay out too late on fight night because I like to leave the very next morning. Um, and just get out of there. So I feel bad when I bring a lot of people out just because it's not what they think it is. It's not a party. It's not like a getaway. It's not a vacation. It's business.
I would offer to give you a ride to the airport, but we know how it went last time as well. So I am flying out like
I was
11
thinking, I'm
o'clock.
like
So
at like 2 a.m. I'm telling you, like, yeah, you think you could be up at 6:30? Like, not. It wasn't the best plan. I barely made that flight. That was close. That was a photo finish, like a movie scene running through the airport. It was It was closed when I got there, and they said, "No, yeah, you can get in." I'm like, "Thank you."
I definitely took a little extra long morning that morning, and I think I checked out at checkout. Like they were calling the lady was outside my room about to knock to be like, "Where are you?" And but yeah, I mean I am flying out at 11 a.m. the next day, so I'm sure you're probably beating me on that one.
Yeah, no, I should definitely be more. What it is, I never had to fly before all of this stuff, so like literally, I'm a child. I was telling like my girl and telling my coach, like my coach is normally with me. He's traveled a lot, in his lifetime, so he usually like navigates me through the airport. But that was the first time I did it by myself, and it didn't go exactly how I wanted it to go. But if I'm gonna do this for a career, then that's travel is just something I'm gonna have to like learn how to do.
And about your coach, I had a great talk with him at Atlantic City. Um, Talk to me a little bit about Gilbert Grappling. Who you train with, what brought you there, and what this little gym in Harvey means to you.
So as far as finding it goes, I've always fought in the area. So I used to train in Northwest Indiana, which, if you're familiar with like the way things are laid out here, Chicago is super, super far to the northeast of Illinois, right by the border of Indiana. And Indiana's just, Northwest Indiana is just across the border. So it's like kind of a little more hustle and bustle like area of Indiana just because it's so close to Chicago. So I used to train in Northwest Indiana, and they would always hold the fights out there. So everybody from Illinois would go to Northwest Indiana just because the commission for the MMA like events was a lot more relaxed, and I think just cheaper for the shows to go on. Um, so I had fought in 2017, did my amateur career. I had been training like my whole life before that. And I just kind of was like falling out of love with fighting and like just stupid things that were going on in the background, nothing that actually had to do with the actual act of fighting. But and when I did, take that time off and I started wanting to get back into it, I looked online on Tapology and basically like scrolled through past events that I had went to, and looked for like winners, like and what gym that they trained at, and kind of just created a little list of gyms that I wanted to go check out because I wanted to get back into it. No intention of fighting though, but I did want to train like a fighter because when you train at that level, you eat at that level, and I could like eat whatever I wanted damn near as a kid and like not get fat at all. But it was not the same case when I became an adult and stopped training and just started continued eating like how I was. It just wasn't working out for me. Um, so I wanted to train. I ended up finding G2 because the very last show I went to, which was in September of 2017, they had like a gang of people on the cards, a lot of fighters, a lot of wins. And I'm like, well, that's a place that'll have a lot of bodies in there. That's a place that will, obviously does a lot of work in this area. So that'll be a good like starting spot. And I went there and it was just Bo and Dan and that was it. And I didn't know if I would stick around. I didn't know what was going to happen, but day by day, I kind of became friends with Bo like on a personal level, and I liked seeing him win, and then him winning was like kind of sparking that fire in me for me to get started and do my thing. Kind of I was like towing the line to where I wanted to train, but in the back of my head I knew I wanted to fight, but I wasn't willing to do it. He pushed me over the edge. And kind of once that happened, it seemed like we just started getting guys one by one popping in, and you know, guy would leave, guy would come, guy would leave, guy would come, guy would stay, and then we would have like an Isaac, and then guy would come, guy would leave, guy would come, guy would leave, and we would just end up finding these gems and just started collecting them. And the group, a lot of people were a revolving door, just a revolving door of people, but there would be little like gems that would stick around at the gym, and they would end up becoming like really good fighters, like guys, they're I'd say that we attract a certain group of people. Wrestlers, obviously, that's just generally, if you look at what, Gilbert Grappling has been, it's been really wrestling focused. And I think that like works really well for the landscape of MMA right now. They're really, at least American MMA is really heavy into wrestling. They really, really love it. The promotion itself, UFC loves wrestlers. Um, so I think that's a great thing. And, as far as like promotability as well as like its functional use in fighting. And yeah, man, I think that I brought like a different flavor to that. I had my grappling, but it was a different type of grappling. I did wrestle in my life, but my base will never be mistaken for wrestling. My base is jujitsu. That's what I like to do. That's what I'm good at. And I just have like a more old school style of jujitsu. It's not really the barambolos. It's not things like that. It's top pressure, real position, controlling, like things. I like to get to the positions where I could land strikes. The submissions are always there. I feel like if I get to mount, I could try 3 submissions and land strikes, and I don't really have to give up any position to do it. So I feel like my game isn't really dependent on like I don't have to catch anything. If I don't submit you, I'm still gonna beat your ass. That's just what my jujitsu is. And I think that my jujitsu mixed in with that wrestling and that hard nosed wrestling style just kind of like made something beautiful. And then Bo has this really like profound knack. He really, really likes boxing. That's like something that he grew up with. He likes boxing a lot. And I think that he added another flavor to it again, and just kind of we got a group of misfits together, and we got this ragtag group going on, and we all it's not a fancy gym. We're not, a lot of people like to go into gyms and just try to find the biggest gym in their area with all the fighters that have the most Instagram followers, or that guy's in the UFC, and they just think that by brushing shoulders with these guys or posting pictures with them that that's somehow going to make them a better fighter, and it just doesn't. I think that a lot of people will leave their gym and go seek out a gym with a lot of UFC fighters just because they think that that's the best method to get to the UFC, and for the most part they're not wrong, but it's not the only way to get to the UFC. I really like not just what I'm doing, but I like how I'm doing it and who I'm doing it with, and that's what G2 represents for me is a gym that has all the abilities that these big brand gyms have, with a lot of UFC fighters. We have all of the same like ability, but we just haven't had anyone, break through. And I really think that once I break through and get to the UFC and show exactly how good, I really am, then I think that that's going to open the door for Bo to go through and Chris, and it would have been Isaac, but and basically just prove that it's not a fluke. It's not one guy that made it in UFC out of like from a shitty gym, and it's just like luck of the draw. It's something calculated, something planned. There's really something to that gym, and what is I don't know his name. The Instagram guy who always says like, we don't need to sit at your table. We're building ours. We're building our table. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't need to go seek out other guys to get us there. We can do it on our own.
It's definitely noticeable over the past couple years. I think we connected. I think the first time back in like 2021. I think we would have been connected in 2020, but at the Lancaster card, they didn't allow any fans. It was like you
Yeah,
guys,
no fans.
a Christmas tree, CM Punk, and John Morgan. But seeing the differences over the years, you guys always had that mentality of, if you're not with us, you're kind of against us. Take over the world. And it did seem to really pump up more after Isaac's passing. Now it's you all have something. It feels like you all have something to prove, not just to yourselves, but in memory. Knowing that his skill set should have gotten him somewhere. You guys are now carrying that for him. What did that passing do to the gym? Just because, like, on the outside view, I see one view, but from the inside,
Yeah, I mean, as far as that, like, it's us against you mentality, we are all from like funky upbringings. I'll never say bad upbringings, but maybe unconventional. And I just think that like that gives us like a certain like defiance, And and it's true. Like I said, we're doing it on our own. We're not looking and seeking out people to help us or to, a big brand name to help our brands get bigger. We're doing it right here. We're not gonna ask for any help. We don't need any help. It's fuck you and we're gonna beat you. That's just what our mentality is. I really like that mentality. And it works for us. And it's ramped up after Isaac because we're a tight knit group as a whole. That's just what we are. We're it's not just training partners. We're not just coworkers and we clock in, clock out, and don't talk to each other. We all kind of like um, I'll ask them questions as far as like guidance on my career and what I think I should do, or we don't just ask like it's not just strategy. We're not just asking like, what's the quickest way? The quickest way would be to fight a nobody and get a knockout, And they're like, oh, Jose can, he can box too now. Great. But who did I really fight? And will I ever be able to do that in the UFC? No, and I'll tell Bo, like, when he's got a challenge for a fight, he's like, should I fight this guy or should I fight this guy? Should I try to stand with him or should I like take him down? And we have something to prove. We're always trying to prove something. There's no point in taking the risk and going out there if you walk out the same person you walked in. When you walk in, you have something to prove, and your objective is when you walk out to be a different person because you will have proven your point. You know what I'm saying? Um, as far as Isaac's passing goes, I'd say we were all on fire because he was supposed to fight in July, right before my last fight in August. We were all lined up to fight. We were all lined up, his fight ended up falling through because of a rib issue or someone's lung collapsed or something like right after weigh-ins. Um, so unfortunate, but we were all on like a high, we were all working really, really hard. So it was like it wasn't like it was a spotty time. He was in the gym every day. We were in the gym every day because we had our own fights. And then it was just like one day he wasn't there. And I would say that it really, really helped us as far as motivation goes in preparation for our following fights. But once those fights were over, I always talk about it. I don't know if other fighters get this. It's a high. You work your way up. It's kind of depressing, almost the diet and being alone a lot because of training. And then you get to that point where you actually fight and you're at a high. You're at this really big high. And everybody's, giving you congratulations, dapping you up, telling you all the things that you did. You're a champion. You're going to go to the UFC, whatever. And you get this dip that happens afterwards when you kind of start to go back into normal life. You get this like little dip. I don't want to say you get depressed, but something like that. And I would just say that little dip for a lot of us, I know for Bo and I know for me, like personally, that dip just brought us even a little bit lower because like I guess I don't know what we thought would happen. It was meaningful to like be able to fight for Isaac and do something in his honor, and it was so close. And I think it almost helped us like cope with it in that moment. And then once the fight was over, Isaac still wasn't there. Like I don't know like if in our head, obviously we know we're not idiots that winning a fight isn't going to bring someone back, but I guess I don't know. I don't know what positive I thought was going to happen out of it. I just thought we were, respecting his name and trying to bring honor to it, but it didn't feel any better because at the end of the day, once the fight was over and we said what we had to say, we proved what we had to prove, we still went back to a gym that was kind of in a lull. Everybody had already fought. Everybody fought. So, people were taking their little week off, 2 weeks off, or, spotty training. And Isaac still wasn't there. Like, it was just, I don't know. I would say that it helped as far as motivation. And then it really, really hurt afterwards. It was kind of a delayed reaction. I think just because I had that fight going on and he died like a week before. That it wasn't until almost like a few weeks after my fight that I just got really, really like depressed by it. It was rough, and we just had to build back. We were on a high right when it happened because we all had things lined up, but when we didn't have anything lined up and we were just left with our thoughts, I think that we all kind of took a hit. I don't know, like everybody got a little more depressed than they normally would have, or I don't know. It's good and it's bad. It's bad in the long run. It was good when it helped, but it hurt when it really did hurt.
Yeah, it was definitely. Like I said, you knowing a few of you guys, I knew it was a motivator in those initial fights, and then you guys still fight in his memory, which is great. They always say, you're not gone until the last person stops saying your name, and leading into Bo's last fight, him training with Isaac's gloves and keeping that with him, like it stood out. One last on this topic. I think it was about right before the co-main of your title fight. I know you're in the back, you're warming up, you're getting ready. I know there's a TV back there too. Did you know they were going to do the 10 bell salute as well? Like,
I did. They told
okay.
us that they told us, it wasn't like days before. Basically, once I got to the venue, they had like a square of like 9 TV screens lined up, and they had like a picture of Isaac, and they were advertising other things too, like their fights and stuff, but they did have a picture of Isaac, and that was like a big deal. And I did know that they were going to do something they had mentioned to Dan, my coach, and Dan mentioned it to me. It was long enough before my fight that I was actually able to go downstairs and check it out. I was really happy. That was a cool little like pick me up right before my fight, and just kind of remind me of like what we're doing it for.
Yeah, I just remember because I knew going on just from you guys, and like when it happened, my kid kind of looked up to me, and I explained to her like who he was and who he's connected to, and why. Not only was it a big deal, it was a big deal on that night, I felt, because of everything else. Like, that was, I don't want to say a release for you, because I'm not you. Like, I don't know how you felt, but it felt like, that was like the topper, then you won it, and then that was the.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I'd say that added like a tremendous amount of pressure. And I think it showed in that fight. I was like, I was the first guy. Like, I'm not saying that I'm like any more connected to Isaac than anyone else was. That's not like what I'm saying. But I just know that I was the very first fight 7 days after, his passing. And I just felt a lot of pressure. Like, I always feel pressure. Like, my team doesn't actively tell me like, oh, you have to win. But I just know that these guys, like, they believe in my grappling. They believe in me. They believe in what I can do, and I think that if I were to like fall short of that belief, then that would like almost breed doubt within themselves. I just think I'm like something to compare to right now. Like, oh, if Jose's doing good and I spar with him and I do well, then I can do well also. And I think that this one was a big one for the team as a whole. And I felt a tremendous amount of pressure in that fight. And I like to talk crap. I like to get, wear my heart on my sleeve, but I just think I had too many emotions flowing through me in that fight that like I kind of when I showed those emotions a little too much. It was like too much pressure, too much going through my head in that moment that I didn't have like the perfect fight exactly how I would have wanted it. But yeah, I definitely did get some release from that fight.
it's a weird transition now going from that into other topics.
No, you're okay. I'd rather move on to the fight stuff. If we keep talking about this and it's my emotions, then we're gonna be here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's kick back to fighting.
Most recently, Bo had a stellar performance as well. Just earlier, I guess now it's last month. It's now July. A big win over a highly touted fighter out of the law. No, I don't want to say law because we're talking about law MMA down in like in Memphis and all, but
Yeah.
lost Logan and Weidman up north against Damian Nelson on a card that was basically like team law. They brought in, a lot of their big guns that were right on the cusp as well. How has that helped being, I guess you kind of technically went into camp probably in the middle, near the end of his camp. How has it helped being in the gym together again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, camp and not camp, weird, but if you're really like if you really enjoy martial arts, you should just do it like all the time. And I would say that this was a good one, like since I had such a long gap that you get burnt out with training a little bit when you're training that hard for 6 to 8 weeks preparing for a fight. So it's natural to kind of like get a little more spotty in between. But I had enough time in between my last fight and this fight that I'd gotten over that, and I had been training like consistently. Um, but yeah, no, I what like we were just talking about is we don't need to sit at a big table. We're building ours, and I think that this was a good one. We had the Ray Longo and stuff like that across there. We have Aljamain Sterling across the octagon from us, and I just remember telling Bo in his ear, I'm like, you see that guy? Like, no offense to Damien, this is just what I told him before a fight. I'm like, you see that guy? That guy feels that he has a better chance of winning because of the people that stand behind him. But when they close the door, you are by yourself. And it's not Instagram followers that's going to get you there. It's not who your training partners are. It's not the guy that's training secluded, 50 feet on the other side of the gym. That guy's not going to help you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. And my coach said it. We always do this ceremonial, like, so Isaac was the Henny man. We take a shot of Hennessy after the fights that we win. In his little speech before Bo took his shot after that fight is it's true. It's like we beat another $1 million corner. And I like that concept. I like that a lot. I like being the little guy. This kind of goes back to what G2 represents for me. I like being the little guys. I like being the working class fighter, the guys that you come to our gym, like there's just a junkyard and a repair shop, and they got their little like shop cats running around. There's gonna be a cat that's gonna walk up to your car when we get out of the gym. Like, I don't know, it's just a different vibe. It's not a nice place. Like, I don't know, but it's magic's happening there. It's this little dead end road, and there's magic happening at the end of the road. And I really think that that's cool. It's a testament to who comes into our gym. Because if you show up to a gym and you're expecting like this beautiful place with white walls and a whole bunch of windows, and you're going to show up and you're going to get a garage door and mats and an octagon that's bent out on both sides. We're going to have used mats. It's going to smell a little funny, but you will learn how to fight. And that's what we're proving here is that like we really got something special going on. It's not just me. I believe I'm a great fighter, but Bo's proving that it's not just me. And then guys like Steve and Lewis, these guys are coming through and just putting an exclamation mark on that.
As I started off the interview, we're finally at the first defense, almost a year after.
Yeah.
I pulled some history from CFFC, not to gas you up or give you any extra motivation. The inaugural featherweight champion, Joey Gambino, most Philly name possible, defended his title once and went to the UFC. Jared Gordon defended his title once, went to the UFC. Blake Builder defended it once, was supposed to fight somebody, got the Dana White Contender Series fight, got signed, is in the UFC. Pat Sabatini is the rare one. He defended it 3 times, lost to James Gonzalez, won it back, and then got signed and is in the UFC. Where do you see a defense here projecting you? Do you see I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's no reason you should be on the regional scene anymore. I've said it for a while. John Morgan has said it for a while. Basically, CFFC has said it for a while. Like, why are you still here? But where do you see that first defense possibly doing for your career?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same spot I've been in for the past few fights. With Capaldo, that wasn't a title fight, but he was a guy that, had a shot for the Contender Series and just misfortune kind of, made our paths cross, and I figured just MMA math means if he had the call and I beat him, then I should get the call. That math didn't add up, I guess, in their book, and didn't get the call. I thought that the title would just be the icing on the cake, and it wasn't. It wasn't enough still. So I think this one's really no different as far as like in regards to like my aspirations for the UFC or a bigger promotion in general. I think that I'm kind of in the same spot. I don't see anything different about this one. Um, the belt helps my case, but it was the same thing for the last fight, and it didn't really make a difference. So, um, I'd like to say that this is the one, and that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Is this is the one? That's the way I'm looking at it in my head, because that helps me, prepare for the magnitude of what this could be. But do I really know if this is the one? I don't. I have no clue. I have no idea. But only thing I can say is if I hit 9-1 and the UFC hasn't called me, then I'm like actively gonna avoid them just because that's like, I don't know, maybe fucking, I don't know, do I not talk enough, or maybe too much grappling, maybe not enough punches. I don't really know what box I'm not checking that, has made them like hesitate, because I've just seen guys that I know I'm better than, guys that have actively avoided me, or guys that I could have fought and they chose otherwise. Um, these guys are getting calls, these guys are getting like opportunities that I feel I deserve, and I don't know. I don't really know what I haven't checked, what box I haven't checked, but I can't kill myself over, you know, something I have no control over. That I have no control over what they choose to do. That's a business at the end of the day, and I've learned how to fight in my experience as a professional. Yes, I've learned a lot about fighting. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot of, through the experience, but I've also learned a lot about things not directly related to fighting, but instead the business of fighting. And I guess I kind of had an idea that some of these things were going on, but god damn, it's crazy. It's like fighting is literally your probability of success in fighting is literally 50% about how good you actually are. And then there's a lot of like ability to speak and branding and kind of the way you fight, the how entertaining you are plays equal role in your fighting. Basically, if you're entertaining enough, or you talk well enough, or you have enough Instagram followers, just if you could just win some fights, then you're solid. They'll try to help you as much as they can, but I've seen it in CFFC, I've seen it in the UFC. It's really opened my eyes to the business side of fighting. It's pretty crazy, a little depressing, but it's pretty crazy.
It's definitely a weird situation because the math has been there for well over a year. I mean, my math checks out with this fight. I think when I first met you, I said 2-3, and I think this is the third one. So Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard better not make me a liar.
Yeah, they better do their job, man.
I mean, I had a nice breakfast with Mick Maynard. He owes me one now. Give the dude a call. But I mean, we are about a week away. I think this time next week you'll be in lovely Tunica, Mississippi, surrounded by nothing.
I'm going to Beale Street and get me some barbecue. That's what I'm gonna do.
I'm gonna find some barbecue too. I'm coming down. Want to help with you? You'll be weight cutting that day. Um, I'm flying in during weigh-in day, but I have the whole day, so I got to find something that makes either Memphis worth it or Tunica worth it.
Memphis. Memphis is going to be the thing that's worth it. Tunica, the fight's happening there. That's about it.
So, but yeah, July 14th, Tunica, Mississippi, Horseshoe Casino. I highly doubt anyone watching will be there. So UFC Fight Pass. Pretty better card than I thought it was going to be. Not going to say it's the most fantastic card there is, but it's a good card for Tunica.
Heavy on the top end. You know what I'm saying?
Where it matters. I mean, that's also helpful too, because I mean, it'll look even better than if it was like that July 16th card that would have
I'm not just trying to win the fights, man. I'm trying to steal the show. Me and Capaldo, co-main event should have been main event. Isadala Paj.
I even
Yeah,
referred to
future
that
bout
one
should have been main
as the
event.
main event. I think 4 times when I actually talked to Paul. And again, that fight alone. Why aren't you signed? Like, that you hit every UFC check mark in that fight. I think you left about
Man.
10% of your blood in that cage.
Yeah, that was nuts. That was not a. It was fun. That was not fun in the moment though.
And but no, I mean, outside of that, a lot of shit has changed in your end, management and everything like that. I'll pass it over to you. Any thanks, shout outs, anything that you need, feel free to give them out.
No, thanks for having me on the show, man. Fucking when you started doing this whole thing, we were already chatting long before that, and I felt like I should have been one of the first people to be on the show, but just because of the way things lined up with fights, I mean, I would have been happy to come on and tell you about what I ate for breakfast, but I just didn't have anything going on. So happy to finally get this one out the way and jump on 4 ounces of freedom with you, Zach. So shout out to you for that. And then yeah, the team. Thanks Dan. Thanks Danny B for always holding pads and investing in my career. Thanks Bo for always, kind of like checking in with me and being my main training partner. Steve is a big help in this one because he was getting ready for the fight that he thought he was going to have. With fingers crossed he finds somebody. But Lewis, just G2. It's a small group of people. So I mean, I rely on each person individually like a good amount, and we make it happen. We're making magic happen, like I said, and I'm excited for not just what I'm going to do, but for what these guys are going to do. Hopefully, I get into the UFC after this one, and then hopefully Bo and Capaldo for the title. That's the one I'd like to see, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure there's a lot of people from the CFFC that hope you get called up too, because I'm pretty sure everyone's sick of me asking when your next fight is.
Man.
But I'm pretty sure that they should know by now. That just means the next one's gonna be when's Bo's next fight. So
Yeah.
I'm
Good.
sure a certain matchmaker will get sick of that soon too.
Yeah,
Uh,
Arias, just deal with the man. Just deal with the man.
and I think he's definitely put up with me a lot. I think I went to him after Chris's last fight over Frank and said, "That's the next one, right?" I was told no. So I was right.
I didn't think that they were going with Vassal, but Vassal's he deserves some shine, man. It's not going to be the best shine. He's gonna have his moments in the fight, but I'm gonna kick his ass. That's just what's gonna happen. But he's gonna get shined up real nice. He's gonna look like a world beater in there.
But July 14th, answers on both ends. Chris has always been right there and always fell short, kind of right before the title shot. Finally gets the title shot, and you finally get the fucking defense. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, you know, we'll see how everything goes next week. I'll see you down in Tunica, Mississippi, and I would say we have fun, but you have an early flight the next day, so we'll see each other.
I'm gonna go kick somebody's ass and eat some tacos, man. That's what I'm gonna do.